Hey, what is going on, everybody? This is a special Christmas edition of Chillin' Talk. This is going to be a movie review, a Christmas movie review. November and December is my Christmas movie watching month. And the first one up is An American Christmas Carol. Now, this is based off of A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens. And what they did is they tried to put their own flair on it. So it's not exactly the Scrooge, if you will, that you're used to. There's been many iterations of the movie. I just watched recently with my mother. One of her favorites is the one with Patrick Stewart. And that one is a really good Christmas Carol. It's a really good Scrooge, but you have George C. Scott, Aleister Crowley, all that. And it's good watching them, if you're not familiar. Basically, it's this rich guy that lives in town, Ebenezer Scrooge. He's very greedy, he's very selfish. He treats everybody like dog shit. And he's visited by, his partner, Jacob Marley. And then he's visited by the past, the present, and the future. And they visit him through Christmas Eve and through the night, all the way until Christmas morning. And basically, he wakes up a changed man. He wants to do good. And from then on, he's pretty much a good man. He gives to the poor. He gives to his workers. He increases their pay. He helps one of his workers with a handicapped boy, Tiny Tim. God bless everyone. So that's the traditional Christmas Carol. What An American Christmas Carol does is it gets Fonzie from Happy Days. Ayy. And I'm a big fan of Henry Winkler. I met him 4 times. He came to a signing a couple times here. We have like a retro restaurant here. That's like in the style of Happy Days, and he comes and visits. There's also another really good Christmas movie with him, more recent movie that they play on Lifetime, where like his daughter is going out with his creep, and he picks up this guy that needs a ride, and he hooks up with his daughter, and it's like, happily ever after. Good movie. Now, in an American Christmas Carol, Henry Winkler, or as I used to call him to my cousin, Henry Sprinkler, because he wrote books, children's books. And those are the ones that we got signed. They change it up. So basically, in a nutshell, is he's a carpenter, and he works for this man. He's like a mentor to him. He takes him in and teaches him the trade of carpentry. Now, they're old school. They have a mill. They have a wood shop. They do everything by hand. Quality. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, real furniture, basically, instead of the crap you have today. And that's the point of the movie. And what happens is, he's a Scrooge. He grows up, and he wasn't in the beginning. He was a good man, so it's a little different. Falls in love with his boss's daughter. Basically, they have like a relationship, but she sees that he's changing. He's becoming, the classic stereotype Scrooge. Now, his name is Benedict Slade. He wants to see basically what he wants to do is he wants to not work for hours in a wood shop on one chair. He wants to mass produce. So he wants to be like, Walmart, IKEA, Wayfair, particle board, basic crap. But he wants to mass produce it because that's where the money is. He's changing with the times. He's getting like more hip. Where the mentor is, he wants to stay old school. He doesn't believe in that. He wants to build like the Waltons. Kind of like, I hate to say it, kind of like John Boy, that bastard. Or Big John, really, the father. He's got the mill. He cuts the trees down. He gets orders. He wants to stay basically like that. Okay, so long story short, he meets this guy. He's like the version of Jacob Marley would be in the traditional Christmas Carol with Ebenezer Scrooge. And this guy, he has a proposition, Henry Sprinkler, Henry Winkler, Benedict Slade. And he says, listen, I know a way to make big money. So he says, okay. He says, nothing to do with carpentry or building. Let's become loaners, people, repoers, basically. People we're going to invest in furniture and house items. And then these paupers around the town that don't have a lot of money are going to rent them from us. We can't go wrong because basically what will happen is we either triple our money because they're going to overpay for the item, or they're not going to be able to pay and we're going to repo it back. So they kind of can't lose, but they're really cruel people. I mean, they go after one of the orphanages that he grew up in. They wanted to buy a piano for the kids, He takes that from them. He goes to a librarian. He takes all his books and all the binding and he breaks them, and he's a real bastard. There's a couple, a wife and husband, and they're real poor. And he goes in their house and he freaking takes their heater. He takes their radio. He's a real prick, Henry Sprinkler. Hey, he's definitely not the Fonz in this movie. And, he's starting to lose his relationship, with the daughter. So basically he says at the dinner table, I'm going to leave. And she's looking at him like so embarrassed with her parents and the mentor that basically raised him. He says, I'm going to leave. He goes, because I want to make a lot of money on this venture. He goes, one day when I have enough funds, I'll come back for you and you won't have to work. You'll be taken care of, but I can't take you with me now. Lo and behold, he asks the father one more time to get into the furniture mass-producing business, and the father says no. The mill burns down because some idiot is in there, and he burns the mill down, working there late one night. The father gets real sick. Lo and behold, the father eventually dies. And Henry Winkler feels real bad because he made him the man that he is basically today, the good parts of him. And the daughter, of course, at this point wants nothing to do with him because, look what you did to my father. You put a lot of stress on him. He had heart problems, apparently. He wasn't the healthiest. He had a couple instances during the movie before he died. And Benedict Slade takes off and does his business. Well, years later, he's an old Ebenezer by now, and he's a real bastard. And he goes around and, he's got like the whole Tiny Tim kind of whole thing going on with the worker that's poor and can't take care of his son. And he's got to go to, I think, Australia because they're the only clinic that can help this handicapped boy. Thatcher. His name is Thatcher. And Bob Cratchit. He's supposed to be basically a version of Bob Cratchit from the original Christmas Carol, but his name is Thatcher. He's got a sickly boy. So it's kind of like the same thing, you know? Long story short, his partner dies and kind of visits him, and he's like the version of Jacob Marley, and he's visited by the past, the present, and the future. Of course, the future being the Grim Reaper. Like, this is what's going to happen. You know, and throughout the night, when he's visited by the three spirits, he sees what's really going on. He sees how he treated his mentor shitty. He sees how he treated his girlfriend like shit. He sees how he treated his Thatcher like shit, his family. He didn't even know that he had a handicapped son. Because he's like, why would I bring it up to you? Because you don't care anyway. And basically, he becomes good that Christmas morning. He visits all the people that he repoed and he gives them back their stuff. He gives Thatcher a raise, and he goes to Thatcher's house and he pays for all the bus fare and the ticket in the plane, the bus fare and the boat to get his son taken care of in Australia to have the facility, the procedure done to save his life. It's very warming at the end. And then he goes into the orphanage where he grew up and he sees a boy in there that was just like him. And it basically starts off like it basically ends like it started off with him. That man took Henry Winkler in and said, hey, you know, you're going to work in my shop for me. I'm going to raise you. Henry Winkler does it to an orphan at the end. And he gives him a stick of wood. And he goes, what can you do with it? And the kid's real bad. So he says, do you want me to embarrass you in front of everybody? Or do you want to walk outside and be nice with me? You know, and be like a man so people don't laugh at you. He takes the kid in, and basically it starts all over again. Now he's doing to that kid what his mentor did to him. And it's got a nice ending. And it becomes full circle. Now, as much as I like the original Christmas Carol and the traditional Charles Dickens, I read the book. I had to read it a couple times in school. One of my teachers in like 9th, 10th grade was like big time into Charles Dickens, and we had to read that damn thing. We had to watch the play, and she had every day she had a quote from the movie, and she would put it on the chalkboard, and it was called, my high school buddies would remember this, Daily Dose of Dickens. Well, now it's Daily Dose of Winkler. And you know what? I got to tell you, I think Henry Winkler did a great job. I think it's cool. It's kind of neat because it wasn't the same old story. They kind of changed it. They kind of put their own flair to it. They tried to make it original with still following the traditional meaning of the movie, that you can become good and anybody can change. And, you know, basically, there's no real bad people in the world, that you can change. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be visited by three spirits, but it's basically the basic premise of the movie is, you know, everybody has good in them. It's just a matter of getting it out. And that's my take on An American Christmas Carol with Henry Sprinkler. Hey! Now, it's funny. Every time I watch that, you know, people are like, oh, do you want to watch the original, you know, Scrooges? Do you want to watch the original? Do you want to read the Christmas Carol? No, I want to watch Happy Days. Because, you know, back off Bucko. You know what I mean by that? Opie Taylor, remember? Guys, that's my review. I'm going to have a couple more Christmas movies throughout the next couple weeks. I hope you join me. And that's been our first Christmas movie review. Hope you guys take care, and I'll see you on the next video. And check the movie out yourself.